Hi, I'm Bonnie, Log Cabin Stitcher. Welcome to my channel and welcome to my sewing room. You can follow Riley and I on Instagram at Bonnie Log Cabin Stitcher. I feel like I need to rock him. He's all cuddly right now. I found a picture. I was looking on my phone for some information that I needed from some paint, and I was scrolling back and I found a picture of him when my son Jake, who owned him at the time, brought him over to the house, and both of us did not have gray on us. He's about 6 years old now, and he just wants to snuggle down. He's about 6 years old, 6.5 years old now, and he's getting to be a bit of an old man. But Riley had so much fun this weekend. We have a little place up in the mountains, backwoods area, and Riley loves being a mountain dog up there. He has a lot more adventures up there than he does at home in the city. And I have a picture that I put on Instagram of the second story where he sits on my bed and looks out the window at a tree, and my husband hung a bird feeder. I design things. I come up with all these ideas and then he carries them out sometimes. And so he has a pole that he rigged up and he hangs it, and I can see it from the kitchen window. I can look up, or the bedroom window. I can look straight out when I wake up in the morning. I just look out and watch the birds while I wake up. But Riley, because he's so short, he has so much fun. So I put a picture of him while I was sitting there stitching, and he was watching all the birds, and he's fine with all the birds except for the ringneck pigeons, and we call them chickens, and now we're calling them tree chickens because they're big and they make all these noises, and then a bunch of them try to get on the bird feeder, and they're all making the noise. And anyway, Riley just has a fit. So I woke up like at 6 o'clock in the morning. He jumped on me. I was asleep. He jumped on me and started barking at all the pigeons. So it wasn't early morning, but that was kind of an adventure. So he is being silly right now. So I'm going to put him down, and I probably have dog hair all over me. But anyway, Mania is over. Stitch Mania is over, and it was wonderful for me. I did probably 5 different videos in May, which is a lot for me, but there was so much that I was stitching, so much that I wanted to share, and I didn't want it to be some crazy amount of information that I just rushed through. And it seemed like I kind of rushed through them all anyway, but that's just kind of how I am. But I did one on the 28th, and today is June 2nd, so there's not much that I have to share with you as far as cross stitching, but I want to share with you a plan that I have for June, and I would love for you guys to join in with me on it. So let me show you the stitching that I did, and let me tell you about what I came up with, and my friend that I'm having co-host. Actually, I'm going to have 2 Sals started yesterday. So one of the stitch alongs that I'm doing, Lisa at Lisa On Greenway and I are co-hosting what we're calling a wool along. The hashtag is Wool Along Friends. We are really hoping to get the excitement going for other people to join in with us as we do wool applique. I have not done it for years, and I got really excited about it a couple months ago because I pulled out 3 boxes of wool and patterns that I had in my office, and now I have them under where you guys are sitting. They're in plastic boxes underneath my quilt table. I can easily get at them, and I love it. So I was planning on starting some wool projects anyway, and then when Lisa asked me, I thought, perfect. So we came up with June 1st because Stitch Mania is Stitch Mania, and then I've been posting, other people have been posting, Lisa's been posting. Lisa's been doing a lot of wool projects, so she has videos. We're gonna title them all the same. Hashtag Wool Along Friends will be the name of our videos. So check out Lisa's, check out the 2 that I've done if you haven't seen them yet, and I will be doing another one in a day or 2 to share with you really cool stuff that I'm pulling together, and some more Maggie books and some things that I got from Blackberry Primitives, where Maggie gets her supplies. So my first project that is also, it's kind of a whip because I took this up to the cabin to stitch on, and it stitched very quickly. So the lighting is not perfect. Let's do it there. I'm using my box lights because it's nighttime, so maybe that will be that you can see it. So it's just some stitching. It's just some stitching that I'm doing. It's just wool stitching, and I love it, and it goes very fast. I will share more about this, the details on it, in the wool video that I do. But I was missing a few pieces because it was a whip, and it had been sitting, and I didn't have my wool with me. So now I'm going to cut out those pieces that I'm missing. Then I am going to turn it into a project bag, because if you look at that Instagram post, if you look below the window, this is how I had it displayed, because it is a tiny, tiny little log cabin. And upstairs, the loft, there's not a lot of room. So the stitching that I have, I just sit next to the bed because that's where I sit and stitch. And I just had this leaning up against the wall, and I put it up like this because I couldn't stop looking at it. And I thought, well, why put it away then? I had it leaning up like this, and I had it against my project bag, and I thought, what if I just make it into a project bag? So that's what I'm going to do. So it's going to end up being a project bag, but I'll share more details about that on my Wool Along video, which I have all my stuff stacked there for that. Then the other stitching that I did was this one that I saw Christy at Daisy K's Primitive Stitching. She did Pride and Glory, Threadwork Primitives. It's an out-of-print pattern. I'm borrowing this from a friend right now, and I was able to get a little bit of work done on it. This one is done on 32 count vintage exemplar, and I'm doing 2/2. So I will share the threads when I'm done with them, because that way but I think this is Cocoa by Weeks, and this I think is Endive by Weeks. So just trying to play around and do it, and not try to compare too much with what Christy's doing, because I need to get out of that whole comparison thing and just do it the way I would like to do it. And I wanted it primitive, so primitive colors. So I'm not going to be doing the DMC because these look lighter to me than I would like. But maybe that's just the pattern. But I am really trying to get out of where I'm putting myself in a box and trying to do it exactly like somebody else or exactly like the pattern. So I'm just playing around with it, but that was what I did some stitching on. Then the other project that I was doing, very appropriate for having a pine tree right outside my window, I started some work on, Christmas tree. In the last FlossTube video, I was talking about the fact that the lights, let me turn this box light, and maybe that will show up better. In this pattern, the thread was the issue. So, and I'm not going to repeat everything that I shared in the last video, but I decided I wanted to stitch it on the 32 count fawn, and I did not like how the called for color is different than I think the original one was, because I shared what my older 6-strand Valdani looked like, but there's not enough variegation, not enough light to dark that my original Valdani embroidery floss had. So I'm going to play around with it. Barb on Lost in Floss had used green jeans. I may go with this because it's pulling out more of the green, but it's just a bit lighter than I might like. And so I pulled out something that I got on, it's Lumberjack Green on the Thread Gatherer. It's a limited edition, and I picked them up on her Etsy shop. But this one has a little bit more of the darker brown in there, so I may go with that. I'm going to play with it, but I just did a couple stitches just to see, because I didn't have my silks with me. I looked through all, I'll show you what I brought. Let me pop this over there. So when I go up to the mountains, sometimes I will just bring my project bags with what I've got. Sometimes, because we were there for longer, I brought my this is how I store my overdyed cottons. So I have them by color, and I have 2 wheels of them. I have a whole video, I want to say it's FlossTube number 4, but you'll see this on the graphic explaining how and why I do this. And I do enjoy it because it does keep it clean, because when we go to the mountains, we are on a dirt road. It's nothing but decomposed granite, so things get really dusty. And I know I can keep these clean. That's not why I did them, but that's why I feel comfortable bringing them up with me, because they sit right by the open window, just the way it is. So I brought these with me, but they were all the cottons. And you would think, because of all the greens that I have, that I would be able to find something. But no, it's because I'm trying to do it exactly like the picture. So I just need to work on getting over that. But it's hard. The other thing that I worked on, and I'm going to share more about my project bags this month. That was my goal, is to share more details on that, because I have 2 weeks off of work. I decided to take 2 weeks off, and I told my husband I'm going to take the whole month off. But when I don't work, I don't get paid, so there's only so much time I can take off. But I got a little bit more work done on, let's take this out. So it's the Deck the Halls little tiny book, and it is Christmas Cactus. So I'm probably not going to be doing strawberries. I'll probably be doing something flat, but I really enjoy it. And this is the first time that I'm using Aztec Red, which is very pink. Christy at Crosshatch Quilts was talking about her Aztec Red and how she decided to do it in the sampler that it called for, but she just wasn't sure about it. So just got a little bit farther on that. But I didn't have all the called fors on here because I was trying to do this up quickly before I went to Colorado. And the crazy thing was, I had made an order for a lot of the threads that I didn't have from this book. And I had it shipped to me before I left. And I got the notification when it shipped. And I thought, oh great, it's going to be waiting for me at my dad's when I get there. No, it got lost. It was somewhere. I don't know where it was. It was hanging out somewhere in Grand Junction, and even though I went to the Colorado post offices, they could not tell where it was or what the problem was. But the funny thing was, I don't know if it was that funny, but the day after I left, I was driving home and my dad called me. He said, turn around and come back. You got a package. So by then I was too far. And my friend Judith shipped it back to me. So I got those threads, but in the mix of that, I didn't have all the threads here. So, you know, life is often a series of unexpected things that go on in your life. So I had come up with the thought of taking 2 weeks off work. And I project, it's going to be wonderful. I'm going to do all these things. I'm going to have all this time. This is how everything is going to go, yada, 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 yada. Well, we were supposed to come home from the cabin around noon that day, and I was going to get some things done when I got home, and then we were going to go to the San Diego Zoo today. And of course, none of that happened. We were having trouble with our cameras that we have because we've gotten broken into up there. We were having trouble with our cameras, with the batteries, with the connecting, technology. I don't like technology. Anyway, we ended up coming home late in the evening, and I was kind of rushed. So all that to say, I had packed all my flosses in the car because we were going to get ready and go. And I just had a project bag with me so I can just do a little stitching before we left. Well, we ended up waiting for hours, and I thought, I'm not going down to the car to get all the flosses and bring them back, because it's like, I don't like to have things back and forth, back and forth. So I was stitching on this, and I thought, I'll have all the colors with me. Oh no, most of the colors that I needed were down in the car, and it just got me thinking. So I stitched what I could, and I had plenty to stitch, but it just got me thinking about the whole reason I don't want to have too many whips going at one time. So those were all the cross stitch things that I did this weekend. I spent more time on a hand quilting project that I'll show you a little bit more on in a moment. But that got me thinking about what Maynia meant for me, what the next thing that I'm going to be doing in June means to me, and why I'm doing that. So for me, because I am a quilter and a beader, I make jewelry, bead jewelry, and I do hand applique, and I do wool applique, and I do gardening. I've got so many things going, And I did not want to get into cross stitching. I tried. Didn't want to get into cross stitching after I found FlossTube, because I thought I don't need more things to do, more unfinished projects. But who can help it once you watch FlossTube? Who can help it? So for me, I generally only have like 6 whips at a time, and that's a comfort level for me. Bigger things, smaller things, that's comfortable. Maynia was wonderful because I shared about it at my end of April, beginning of May. For me, because I made a trip out to my dad's and I needed to have some stitching time to de-stress and to give my dad time and give me time, because I was there for an extended amount of time. And it was quite a intense trip because of things that we both needed to get done. It was wonderful to have those plans and to have those threads, even though they didn't all arrive. I had some with me. It was very good for me to have that, and I have enjoyed it. I did not do a new project every single day, because some days I wanted to do the same thing for 3 days in a row, and I did it. I had a goal of cross-stitching every day. I didn't get that done because of travel days, and then I had my friend from Colorado flew out here, and so it was Maynia my way. I am sweating. Let me open the window. It's evening. I'll let you look at the beautiful quilt, which is going to be part of next month. Okay. That's better. So June for me is going to be great because it's going to transition. It's to me like a bookend. It's perfect for all the Maynias that I started, the Maynia stitches that I started, and the fun that I had in planning, the fun that I had in kitting things up. Yet I'm feeling very, very spread out, and I love stitching each project, so I want to get some finished and have things in their places. So I like when I have my threads together or enough kitted up. I like when all my linens, this is my box of linens, and yes, it's getting quite full, but I have my linens in here. So when I want to do a new project, I like that I can have them all in one place. But what I have done, because this is a bigger bag and because I did have linens that I chose for all, I think it's 6 projects, I had 6 linens here. So it will be easy to wrap them up. I don't want to cut and then put them back in case I don't like how that works out. So it's just going to be easier for me to have less projects going at one time. That's for me more of a comfort zone. So what June is going to be for me is I was walking in the woods with Riley, and I was thinking about what I wanted to do in June and how walking is like my good thinking time, because in April or the end of March I came up, I'm still sweating crazy, I came up with the idea of all done April, and so I could finish things up and then move on to new things, and that worked out really well. So as I was thinking about Maynia and then what can I do for June, I just thought of Just Get It Done June, and I was just going to do that on my own. I was going to title the video just like I did for my April one. And then I thought, well, gosh, other people might want to do that too, because I know that there's a stitch camp, there's different stitch alongs going, different ideas. And I thought, well, other people may want to do this too. And it really inspired me when I was watching Melanie from Melly Ellie Stitches. She was doing a FlossTube recently, and she was finishing things, and I was laughing because she would say, I finished something else, and she'd say like, who said that? And it was just funny, and I loved it. And so she really inspired me to do this, Just Get It Done June. And so I'm doing it hashtag Just Get Along June, SAL, and I asked Melanie to co-host it with me because she's on Instagram as well, and she said yes. So that's going to be a fun thing. So I have 2 stitch alongs that I'm doing. One, the Wool Along Friends with Lisa at Lisa On Greenway, and then this one, hashtag Just Get It Done June, SAL, with Melanie on Melly Ellie Stitches. So those can be combined. because they will go along perfectly for me, because I have time off, so I can do more things with wool because I have time off work. But I also have a lot of whips. I have projects that I have started or cut out with my wool, and I just want to get them done. So that's my goal. But I also am going to be doing more than cross stitch and more than wool, because I'm a quilter and I have a cupboard full of unfinished quilts. I'm a hand quilter, so I machine piece, but I hand quilt and I hand applique. So that is a very time intensive project to get a quilt done. It's just the way that I like to do it. So for me, June is also going to be getting my quilting done. So I wanted to share with you things that I want to wrap up. This I had done, whoops, this is a small. It's all finished being hand quilted. It just needs the binding on there, and I also hand stitch my binding. You see the theme here? I do a lot of hand stitching. I want to get this done. I want to have it up on the wall. I want to enjoy it. So that's going to be one of the projects that I'm going to work on. Then, let's see, Riley, where did I put that? Goodness, where did I put that quilt? I did, oh, I know. I'll be right back. I did a video last night. I tried several attempts, and one of them I got a half hour into it, and I just thought, it's not happening. Sometimes you want to get something done because it was June 1st. I wanted to get it up. I wanted to tell everybody about it. And I just thought, I've got to get this done, because again, we were supposed to be at the zoo today. But it just didn't work. And so after the video was over, I thought, I'm just putting everything away because I was tired of the mess. And so anyway, it was kind of put away. So I worked on, the last weekend, I worked on one of these, what I'm calling motifs. This last weekend, I got 3 of them done. So all 4 of the motifs are done on the edges. Now the whole center part needs worked on. So I'm going to be taking stitches off. I did not like the light color, so I'm going to be unstitching that, stitching it all more with the neutral. And again, I shared about this on a past video. I will share about this more on a quilting video. And the fun thing is, I'm going to be seeing my sister tomorrow, and she has my mom's quilt like that. So if you're interested in seeing that quilt and you haven't watched my quilting video, if you look at my playlist, or you just click videos, you'll see each of the quilting videos. I try to show a graphic of the quilt that I'm featuring in the graphic. I take the time to do those graphics. If I can get away without doing a FlossTube graphic, I do that. I share more about that. But my mom inspired me, so my sister owns my mom's quilt just like that. So she's going to bring it tomorrow so I can share that. And she's so generous sharing things with me because she knows I take care of them, and she knows I do these videos to share with you. So I'll be sharing more about that, but I want to get that done, get it bound, and have it up on my wall. So that's going to be fun. Then I was emailing this quilt right here. I got a lot of interest in, a lot of comments or a lot of emails asking questions about it. So I was responding to somebody's email, and I had talked about when I did that video that my mom had started it. So it's a mom and me one. She started it. I worked on it, and it's not finished. It's in process. But I put it up on the wall because I want it to inspire me to get it finished. And after I was emailing back and forth with her, I thought, why don't I just make this into the wall hanging? Quilt it, bind it, just simply have it be a wall hanging, because I have supplies to make a king-size bed quilt. And then I can remake one with a much simpler hand applique pattern in case it gets messed up on the bed, and have both. So as I was emailing, I decided that's what I'm going to do. So I would really like to get that done in June as well. So questions that I had, she was just asking, are all these center blocks, are those just the cream and tans? Yes, there are 4 center blocks in here. Those are all the creams and tans. And then these other blocks are the green and the tan combined. So because I have so much interest in this quilt, and what is in it, I'm trying to copy and paste that just in the show notes for all of this, for people that don't maybe want to watch the whole video about it. So those are the things that I want to finish. I've got a lot of things started, and because I am a quilter, and a lot of the things that are sitting over there are my unfinished quilt projects. So I am a stitcher that loves many different things. So I need to let that part of me out, because I primarily did cross stitching in May, which worked out great because that's great to travel, and it was part of Stitch Maynia. But I have so many unfinished projects like these things that I need to get done, and this is from a beautiful quilt by Kim Deal. So I want to be making that, but it's just with scraps, and I love hand applique. And when I'm sitting at the cabin out front, my husband and I can sit out there for hours, entertained by watching the light and we do a lot of birdseed, and we just sit and we talk. He reads, I stitch, but I can hand quilt and I can hand applique out there. So I need to get more of those going, so I have them prepped, and then I can just take them up with me, because this time I didn't have really much hand work. That quilt, because it's kind of, there's a lot of decomposed granite out there, and Riley will jump up on my lap, and I'll do a darker, more prim quilt, but that was one that I didn't want to do a lot of hand quilting on outside. So I really like to have the hand applique. Then the other one that I have going is something very different than my norm, but this was one of our speakers one time. This is Becky McDaniel. So beckymcdaniel.com, similar to what this is. So I have tons of this K-Facet applique pieces. So those are already appliqued and done. I did most of those up at the cabin, and I want to put that quilt together, have it up. It is very different for me, but I like different things. So wow, 27 minutes, and I got most of the stuff that I want to share with you done. So now I can just do some other sharing along the way. Oh, let me go back to a question that someone had, and because I put everything away, because I was just like in a mood after I did that video. I just wanted to get things cleaned up. I had a hoop. Where do I have those? I did a little bit too much cleaning. I had wrapped hoops and I had shared them. Oh, here they are. I had been wrapping hoops that I shared about on my last FlossTube video, and I just showed them like this. And I talked about watching Susan Stanley, A Stitch in Time, while I did that. And I just thought I should have, because I was trying to rush through it, I should have explained why I wrap hoops. So someone asked, tell me about wrapping hoops. So someone had told me, because I asked a question when I was doing my first floss tubes, I was needing to get some more information about hoops, and I didn't know anything about wrapping. So someone suggested me go to Kimberly Young, has Sassy Jack's Stitch, is it Sassy Jack's Stitchery? Yes, she has floss tubes, and she had one that was titled, what was it titled? It was her floss tube number 23, and it was about, she just shows, she's talking while she is just simply wrapping a hoop. She explains the twill, and I use the twill tape that she suggested from, she even said where it was from, Access Commodities, and they are the makers of the Hardwick Manor hoop. So when I ordered my hoops, I also ordered the twill tape. So I use the 3/8, and I also get the 1/2 inch for the larger ones. But the purpose is that it just, that fabric, the twill tape, which is cotton, helps hold on to your linen as you're stitching. You don't have to worry so much about it coming loose. It really does stay nice and tight in there. Then I had a comment too, because I didn't order enough twill tape. Someone commented and said, you're a quilter, you got tons of fabric. Just use a light fabric, and you can rip it into strips and use it to wrap. So that is also an option too, a lot of options. But I would stick with a lighter fabric so the dye doesn't have any issues. So those are different options, and that's why you wrap a hoop, and that's how you wrap a hoop. But thank you for asking questions. Now, so we covered my thoughts on Stitch Maynia and how important it was to me, and I will be doing it again. Who knows what next year will hold, because in my Stitch journal I have tons of projects that I listed and a little check off next to the ones that I did, and I'm putting in my journal what was a Stitch Maynia start, and we'll see how I want to do that next year, because this was my first year of being a cross stitcher in May. So June, hashtag justgetitdonejune, SAL. Obviously I'm doing a lot of needle arts. If you would like to join in with us, please do. If you're on Instagram, use that hashtag, and Melanie and I will encourage you as you're doing your stitching and finishing. You can post anything when you're starting it, when you're finishing it. However, I am not on Instagram every day, so I'm not going to always be, I'm not consistent with anything. So I'll go in and out. And I think I already posted something about my stitching and what I'm going to be doing with the hand quilting. So I have had other people comment on my Instagram post and say that yes, they want to join in with that because they too were quilters and then started cross stitching and their quilting languished. So needle art, needle and thread is good for me. So I know it's good for a lot of people, but finishing things is good too. So that's going to work for me, and I would love to inspire you, because I love inspiring people. I would love to inspire you to join in with me. So now just a little bit of chatter, and somebody that I have really been enjoying following, and what that was in my weekend. So we don't have TV hookup up in the mountains. We have internet, so I could watch stuff. But my husband was reading books, I was stitching, and I was just watching things on my iPad. And sometimes I get really saturated in FlossTube, and sometimes it makes me want to buy too many things. So I have almost no self-control sometimes with food and with buying stuff. Sometimes I have very little self-control. So I needed to pull back a little bit, because I really need to use the things that I have, be more purposeful about what I am purchasing. Doesn't mean I'm not going to purchase anything. I need to be more purposeful with what I'm purchasing, because I'm starting to get anxiety, because I'm looking at a whole basket full of patterns plus 2 basketfuls of project bags with kitted up and whips inside. Not so many whips, but more kitted up things. So I need to pull back. So I really enjoy watching a woman named Kate, and her channel is The Last Homely House. And she lives in England, in I searched it, Northeast England, and she lives in Northumberland. And I love her voice. I love what she shares. She's very interesting. So for me, it was very comforting, and I kind of got saturated in The Last Homely House. And she shares, she's outside in her, she lives on a farm, and she has lots of cats. And she's a quilter, but she does the brighter. So she does K Facet, and she does Liberty of London fabrics. And so there are not so many fabrics that it's like she doesn't do Joe Morton's, she doesn't do Kim Deal's. So it's like, oh great, I can relax, I can watch her, I can see the quilts that she's making. But it's kind of like the release for me of, I don't have to go out and buy all that, because I can simply sit back and enjoy her color choices and enjoy how she's doing things and just do my thing and stitch. Then she also does gardening, and then she had one where she was just simply cleaning her tree house. And I started watching it, and I fell asleep one night, and I thought, I got to come back because I got to see more about this tree house. So I have posted a couple of her videos. I have a playlist on, I think it's lovely videos to watch. So just a few things that I'm finding other than FlossTube to put up there just to introduce things. So I have 2 Kate videos up there. And then I have one, she was sharing a string quilt that she is making, and it's blues, and it's brighter blues and yellows. And I thought, oh, blues and yellows. I've got some blues and yellows that are brighter. That quilt was beautiful. I could do that too. So I posted that. I have one playlist that right now is projects and quilts. I may change that to fabric projects and quilts, but I have one of Kate's videos up there too. But she is lovely. She is so positive and uplifting and calm and chatty, and I love seeing that. And she just really intrigues me, and she loves lime green and pink, so very different than what I do, but it's just very enjoyable. And then when I watched her treehouse video, I thought, oh my gosh, I love it. I love that treehouse. So I was trying to think, where can I do a treehouse? Well, our cabin is on a hillside, and we don't have anyone around us, close to us, and so we own 2 lots up there. But I thought, oh, we could build a tree house, and it would be cool, because if you look at her tree house, hers is standing up on flat land, but we're on a hillside, so we could actually start it at the back, you know, at the hillside, and then it could come out and it could have the porch like hers and stairs, and it could be right by our area. But permits and building materials right now, permits are slow. Building materials are way too expensive. So it was just fun. Again, it's planning. It's the planning, it's the thinking, it's the designing. So I was talking to my husband about it, and we had just been to like an antique junk area up in the mountains, and we were just looking around, and I said, oh my gosh, there were some old windows there, and we could do it with old windows like Kate does. So it was just fun. It was just fun and enjoyable, and I really saturated myself in Kate. And she said something interesting. She has a much larger, she's like 40-something thousand subscribers. So I'm hoping it's just at her level. But YouTube, I don't even read my emails from YouTube. YouTube is now, whether you if you don't monetize your videos, which is where you would have ads on there, they will monetize it for you. They will put ads there, and then YouTube will get all that money. You have no control over where they show up or what they do. So she just said she is going to start posting for Patreon. She is going to start having her videos ad-free on Patreon. So I'd never done Patreon before, but I thought, I'm going to do Patreon for Kate. So that was just part of what I was going to do. So hopefully that doesn't, I don't monetize. So I know there's ads all the time, and hopefully you can skip through them, because I'm not getting anything from them. So I don't know. That's the story on that. I don't know what YouTube is doing. But I wanted to share with you about because I was so saturated with Kate this weekend. I enjoyed it so much. And she had a video on how she came up with the name The Last Homely House. And I was just thinking, because it was a homey house, but no, it was a quote from J.R.R. Tolkien from The Fellowship of the Rings. And I love J.R.R. Tolkien. So this was the quote, and I loved the quote. And so she was very purposeful on why she named her channel The Last Homely House. So I wanted to read you the quote, and because I don't have my glasses on, let's do it this way. So this was when Frodo got to Rivendell in The Fellowship of the Rings. I can't remember if I said it was The Fellowship of the Rings. I sometimes just say Lord of the Rings, which is the trilogy. So Frodo was now safe in the last homely house east of the sea. That house was, as Bilbo had long reported, a perfect house, whether you like food or sleep or storytelling or singing or just sitting and thinking best, or a pleasant mixture of them all. Merely to be there was a cure for weariness, fear, and sadness. So I loved that, and I was thinking about that this weekend, as that thought of weariness and that thought of a place of welcome and pleasure, and I just loved that. So check out The Last Homely House. And then the other thought was with my 2 weeks off. You know, I set up expectations, and I set all these things up. So today is June 2nd, so nothing has really gone along with what my 2 days of my vacation have been. They've not been bad, but just unexpected things came up, and some disappointing things. I got some very disappointing news Tuesday morning about all the work that I had done out there with my dad to help him try to get him set up with something that he needed, and I just got disappointing news about that. And it's his privacy, so that's where I just had to process through all that and then make a bunch of phone calls and stuff. But I thought, well, that was a bummer beginning, and it was like right after I woke up, because the calls were coming from Colorado, so they were an hour ahead of me. So I thought, well, that was a bummer to my vacation. I haven't even pushed the button on the coffee pot yet. And that's my thing. When I wake up in the morning, I get my coffee going, I feed Riley, I get my coffee, and I shuffle down to sit somewhere. And my dad has always called it forming. It takes like an hour to form in the morning. And so that's my thing. But woke up that morning and had to deal with some stuff. So that was disappointing. And then we had the whole camera issue. And then last night coming home and trying to do the video, and that didn't work out. And then I couldn't fall asleep because I had too much stuff on my mind, and yada, 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 yada. And then today we didn't get to go to the zoo. Something else came up. So those are the things that come up. But good things came up too, in that we needed to go to Home Depot and get some supplies so my husband could get up there. He was supposed to go back up there tomorrow and start, because he's doing the whole reconstruction. The whole bottom floor, which is about this big, is, and probably always will be, under construction. So I just have to come to terms with that. But we were just going to go get supplies, because we were planning he was going to start up there and get some work done, because it can get really dusty with what he's doing. So we ran to Home Depot and we went to order a blind that we really liked, and come to find out the color that we wanted wasn't there anymore. But there was a sale from a better company at a better price, but it ended today at 6. So he had to run up there, do all the measuring, because he's actually making the casings that the windows are going to go in. So we didn't even know the measurements, but he ran up there, and so we nailed that sale price, which was great. But you know, we were just laughing. We always laugh about the expensive dates we have at Home Depot, but how these 2 days nothing went according to plan, the plans that I had. But good things happen, challenging things happen, but it is what it is, and we'll just keep working through them together. And so that's where, when I wanted to share that, because that thought of the last homely house and easing, what did it say? Merely to be there was a cure for weariness, fear, and sadness. And that's how I feel sometimes when we go up to the mountains. The other thing I feel sometimes is discontent and stress, because we can trip downstairs, because it's basically like all his tools are there. And I get really discontented, because he's the one doing the work, when it's his gift to do the work. I have had in the past where I got very demanding, and that's not the wife I want to be anymore. I want to be grateful, and I want to be a support for him and help him whenever I can, but I need to allow him to do the work or not when he chooses. And that for me is very, 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 very hard. And I've worked on that for 30 whatever. Oh my gosh, next year I think it'll be, I don't know, can't do the math. We got married in 83. Somebody do the math for me. 37 years, something like that. We've been married a long time, and I really want to be that wife for him that's an encouragement and helping him to do everything that he can. And so that's where I told him, it's not just a relaxing weekend for me. I'm here to help you work too. So we did that. But in all that, the cabin, whether it's under construction or not, it is that for us too, as much as possible, as much as I allow it to be. Is that cure for weariness, sadness, and fear. So there we go with that. What else do I have to share with you guys? So those are the stitching things, and Riley for all over me. Those are the stitching things that I have to share. And please check out Melly Ellie Stitches. She is just so cheerful and so sweet. And if you have not checked out Lisa with Lisa On Greenway, check her videos out too. Her drums that she constructs are phenomenal. She's getting so many wool projects going. I'm getting so inspired. And I will be doing a wool along video showing the things that I've picked up and the plans that I have made, because while we were out front, oh, that's what else I wanted to say. while we were out front, because I didn't have stitching to do, I had brought up, that's why I had a ton of stuff, because I brought up like 6 magazines, pattern books, just going through there, reading them, enjoying them, planning, enjoying looking around. And I have a lot of plans that I've made, and that's going to be fun. The other thing, because we're out in the woods, we kept seeing this mysterious, there was little snake tracks all over, because it's granite, and we sit out right out front. We have this terrace. It's just dirt and stone, but we have a terrace there, and we kept seeing this snake track, and it's small snake, but rattlesnakes are small and they're not good, or they're not good if you get bitten. And so we have Riley out there, and one time he jumped over the terrace. He's on a leash, because one time he took off after a deer, so he's not free to go on his own normally. So he jumped over the terrace, and he was going after something, and then whoop, it pulled him short, and he was barking. And so I looked at Kurt, and I got up, and it was like, oh my gosh, it was a large rattlesnake. So fortunately, he did not, the snake kept going, and he couldn't, and woo, we reeled him. He was like reeling him back in like a fish. So when we kept seeing these little snake tracks, because my husband was, a lot of people think having a cabin in the woods, oh, that's so relaxing. And so we joke about that a lot after a hard work day. We'll say, oh, wouldn't it be so fun to have a place in the mountains? And it would just be so relaxing, because some days it is, but some days it's not. So he did, because sometimes my knee gets messed up because of my gardening. So he did most of the work. And he was raking, so it was riling the snakes up, but we have a lot of gophers, and so we're okay with, we've become okay with the snakes as long as we don't encounter them close. So I kept saying, I'd go out to take Riley to the bathroom and say, oh my gosh, the snake's been out there again. And so we kept trying to look out the window to see, hopefully it's just a gopher snake. But if it's a small rattlesnake, I want to know too. So we kept seeing the snake track, but I was very, very careful with Riley. But that was our snake adventure, and birds and squirrels. No bears, no mountain lions, no bobcats, no coyotes this time. So that was good, or at least we didn't see them. So all that for the adventures, but the wool along, I will be sharing my projects, because June is going to be fun for me. I had gotten everything clean. You know, that's the crazy thing. I have a lot in this room. It all should have a place to go, but quite often after the videos, there's stuff all over the floor, and then I'll pull something more out, and there's stuff all over the place. And I now have come up with a cart in my closet, but when I need to get into my fabrics, the cart has to come out and go in the doorway. Well, it needs a clear path to do it. So that's what June is going to be for me. A clear path, make a mess, have fun, clean it up, do a lot of different projects. So that's going to be June for me. I would love for you to join in with Melanie and I, and also Lisa and I. We got a lot of fun stuff going on. So that's the stitching part. Now is what I call the good stuff, and I know a lot of people like to stay for the good stuff, where I share about what I call my faith journaling, or my faith journey, walking with my Jesus. So to tie in with what I talked about, that quote from Tolkien, and then the disappointment of learning that what I was hoping to get set up for my dad, we did a lot of stuff out there. One of the things that I was hoping to set up for my dad didn't come through yet. And I can be filled with worry, because my dad is a long way away, and just worry. And so I've talked about worry before, and so it was cropping up again. And so I just thought, nope, I'm not going to worry, because my dad is in God's hands, and I pray for him, and I pray for his safety, and I pray for people to come around him and help him and support him, and for him to be okay. And I just have been doing that more, where I turn a worry into prayer, and I need to keep it that way. And I need to know that the trip that I took, I prayed about it, and I have a whole video about one of the really hard days at my dad's house. And I did it, it's called Joy Nevertheless, and it was done up at the cemetery where my mom is. Oh, and somebody asked me, was that Grand Mesa? No, I can see Grand Mesa from up there, but it was not Grand Mesa. It was just it's just a small mesa. Colorado is gorgeous. There's tons of mesas, but it was a small mesa. But it still felt like it was on top of the world. So, but it was a neat video. It was neat for me to do. So, this is what I wanted to share with you about worry. So this was from Prayers and Promises for Depression and Anxiety. But it says worry. Turn your worries over to the Lord. He will keep you going. Psalm 55:22. Who of you by worrying can add a single hour to your life? Luke 12:25. And then Proverbs 12:25. Worry weighs a person down. An encouraging word cheers a person up. And then Philippians 4:6-7. And this was a version I've never heard of before, but it was good. Do not worry about anything, but pray and ask God for everything you need, always giving thanks. And God's peace, which is so great we cannot understand it, will keep your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. And then this was just the thought. It's basically a prayer. God, you know how easily worries can overtake my mind. That's exactly me. You know how overwhelmed my heart can get at the thought of everything that could go wrong. That's me. I don't want to be weighed down by worry. I give it over to you. That's me. God, I'm taking what energy I have and with thanks asking for all I need. When worry threatens to shut down my gratefulness and skew my view of life, gently turn me and I will hand them over to you. Thank you for faithfully keeping me going. I trust for your provision in these areas. And then the question, what worries can you hand over to God today? I love that idea because I had not perfect parents, but because I had parents that were good. I have a good, let me get a drink. I have a positive image of God as my Heavenly Father. I know not everybody does. But I often think of God as my Heavenly Father and me as a child. And He knows I'm going to mess up. He knows I'm going to do things and just fall on my face and come to Him and say, God, I'm so sorry. So I have that concept of Him as a loving Father to me. And I loved that thought where it said, gently turn me around and encourage me to give them to you. I need to keep that thought instead of like, I'm just worrying so much. And I just need to ask God to gently turn me so He can help me. Just like we would with our children when they needed help when they were little, for us to gently help them. We were not always perfect. God is our perfect Heavenly Father, the only perfect Heavenly Father. So those were the thoughts that I wanted to leave with you. Those are the things that I'm working on, and the disappointment that I felt. And after I heard the news, I came out and I was telling my husband, and I felt like I wanted to cry. I needed to cry, and I just couldn't cry. And it was just, usually I'm great at crying, and it was just the weirdest thing. And so I was just like, I was just telling my husband, what a waste of a trip. And I knew it wasn't. I was just feeling sorry for myself. And he said, no, it wasn't. Look at, he was telling me, you got this done, you got this done, you got this done. It was like, well, yeah, I did. And everything will come into play in God's timing. And there are just some things that, as much as we want to control things, we cannot control other people. So we will just keep moving forward. But it was very good that he was able to just give me that encouragement. And now I'm just continuing to turn it into prayer. And my dad he does have great people around him, and I have connection with those people if I need to. So it's going to be okay. But I just need to keep turning them over to God. So I love that. So I pray that you will get encouragement from that. And if you don't have if you didn't have healthy parenting, it is harder to think of God as a healthy parent. So I would just pray that you would engage in that and work on that and just ask God to help you with that, because we all have stuff. I kind of inherited the whole worry thing. And, you know, we all have stuff. So that's my thing that I need to engage in and work on, because I'm an adult. I can work on that. So there you go. May God bless you. May you choose joy nevertheless. Would love for you to join in these stitch alongs with us. Thank you so much for your comments. I still have not caught up on all of them, but I have read all of them multiple times. So thank you. And I know you guys are so gracious and so patient. And this, I try to do this as my best way to give back to you, even if I'm not always good at commenting back to you guys. So thank you. It means so much to me. It means so much to me. And I am reaching another mile mark in my subscribers. And it is a mile mark for me that you value what I bring you, and that means so much to me. So thank you for that. Thank you. May God bless you. And it's just like, I don't want to say goodbye. Goodbye.